everybody. This is Terry Wada with Collabo Creative, a local service design company here in Indianapolis. And it is Wednesday again, so we are coming at you with another episode of our Lessons for Now, which is, the series that we've been looking at, the series that we've created to help share people's lessons and experiences and stories during this time of quarantine and our global pandemic and our movement for social equity and social justice, and looking at our Black Lives Matter and our Black friends across the globe, right? And having all of these experiences during this time in 2020, we're looking at what are the lessons that people are learning and how do we share their voices and their stories so that we can all learn collectively and improve our lives as a whole for all human race, right? So that we can be better people, better societies in the future. So I have three new friends on this week. Three amazing women. You can see how beautiful they are, and we're also all over the place today. So I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves. So Lucia, if you could start off.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for the invitation. So I'm Lucia Gallegos, and I'm located in Toronto, and I'm from Mexico, but I live in Toronto. I've been living here for the past 11 years, so this is home. I'm here. I'm a registered psychotherapist in Ontario. I'm happy and thrilled to be here.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Starla Hart, and I'm in Indianapolis as well. So I'm here with Terry locally. And in my 9-to-5 world, I work as the Community Initiatives Director for 16 Tech Community Corporation. So I do community development, but you asked us how we help people learn. And so I'm a connector. I consider myself a human bridge. And so that's my superpower that I'm bringing to the table today.
Oh, I love that. Human bridge. Oh, I'm going to have to use that.
That's beautiful. And speaking of bridges, I am Jennifer Schafer, and I am just outside of Indianapolis on the north side. I am a life and leadership coach, also a mom of 3 lively young gentlemen. And, what I bring to the table today is life and leadership. I'm also a yoga instructor. So I bring how I help teach others is bringing integrity and love and peace through yoga, and also some other modalities that I have as a coach. So I am grateful to be here, and Terry, thank you for putting this together. I'm just blessed to be surrounded by all of these powerful women today. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you all for joining us. I don't know if it's an intentional thing that I have more women on here, but just tends to be that way. So I love hearing influential, powerful women voices, and I like to be shaped by that as well. I think I may need to bring more men on. Maybe I need to do that. I don't know. But I love that you all are here and you're willing to share your voices with us and your lessons with us. I know that you're going to have amazing things to share with us. I can't wait to hear them because I have not heard them yet. So, but before we get started, I always like to get us on a good foot, on something, on a positive note, get us in the right headspace. So let's start with one thing that you're grateful for today. And it can be anything, large, small. And I'm going to mix it up. So we're going to start with you, Starla.
So I am grateful for what I call my Fab Five, which is like my closest family network. So it's my grandpa, my mom, my 2 kids, and my best friend. And that's I make sure I check in with each of them every day. My kids and I are hunkered down here at the house. Mm-hmm. My mom and grandfather are literally 5 minutes down the road. So that's been my core group during all of 2020 it's like the baseline check-in for each day to make sure everybody's breathing, everybody's germ-free and rolling well. So I'm super grateful for them. It's made going through this time an awesome experience.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Fab Five. I'm going to have to put mine together and figure out who that is. But I love it. It's a good way to stay on top of okay, who do I need to check in with, but not be overwhelmed. Yep. Okay, Lucia, let's go to you.
Oh, in my case, I'm grateful we have a beautiful weather here today, and it's just amazing to wake up in the morning and see the blue sky, and especially the winters here are really, really, really long and really hard, and it's challenging. But finally, in the past week, we had beautiful weather. Seems that summer is already here. So I'm grateful for that, like really, really grateful.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yes, the sun, the weather, that just helps a lot, right?
Absolutely. Big difference.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
Jen.
in beautiful weather here in Indy, so that's been really nice. And you are the 5 people you are surrounded by, and so that's so fun. I love that you're surrounded by your family, and you're able to check in with them each and every day. I am thankful for my my family and my mastermind group, because they help me. They've helped, keep us all sane during this time. One of the most things that I'm grateful for right now is Zoom, because Zoom has been an expander in my life, and so I'm grateful for Zoom.
Oh, that's nice. I don't think a lot of people would share that, right? Everyone's kind of like, oh, I hate the Zoom. But it's so true. I love that you hit on that, because it does. How else would we be connecting? We just had we made milkshakes across the state for my dad, because my dad's in Hawaii, and all of us are spread across the U.S. And so we did a Zoom milkshake, and it wasn't successful with the whole passing thing, but it was a good way for us to connect as a family that we would never have done, if it wasn't for Zoom. So that's nice.
I know, and I wouldn't have met all of you ladies if it weren't for Zoom.
That is so true. All right. Well, I'm so grateful for all 3 of you and your willingness to come on, like I said, and share with us. So let's just jump in. So first question is, what's one lesson that you've learned throughout, let's say, 2020, that you want to share with the rest of the world? And let's go with, I'm gonna go to Jenn this time.
Okay, so my one lesson is that change and evolution leads us to a better place. And I think that is something that I've realized, personally, professionally, and at large for the community. Change, a lot of people don't like change, but I think it really does help us grow as a species and community and, individually. So yeah, change and evolution leads us to a better place.
Nice. Is there anything you want to add on, like how you came to that?
Well, so as a coach, I share with a lot of people come to me, and especially during this time, I think a lot of people have been addicted to the news, and they are stuck in fear. And so, the opportunity to come together and work with my clients to help them come into new awarenesses, and that change is good. Change is good and evolution is good. So, if you think about, also, like, this is an opportunity for us to change old beliefs. So when we come around to protesting and, peaceful protests, and, sharing our voices, I think it's important to understand how to do that respectfully so that voices are heard, and that will lead to change, and change is good for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the whole idea of, at least for me, when thinking of how do we share our voices, and how for us, and this was a turning point for me in thinking about what our company does, and how are we being a platform for people to share their voices, right? Because that is important, and for us, that is how we can help drive change. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you. Let's go over to Starla. Starla, what's one lesson that you learned?
So I think my lesson's more like reminders, but like an all caps shouty text message at me, which is really focusing on prioritizing the really important things and saying no to more things. So just the utter like slow down and shut down of the world really helped me to focus on those things. I tend to be a person that's like running literally from sun up to past sundown with like meetings and community events. And, you know, literally I don't get home till 8, 9 o'clock at night usually, at least 2 or 3 times a week. And so that was my norm. And I'd been running on that for like more than a year or 2. And so the fact that, you know, like everything automatically got shut down, and it was like, oh my gosh, I get to make dinner at home. I haven't made anything besides a frozen pizza for my kids. And like, and DoorDash for months, you know? So it was just it just made it real apparent that I can and should say no to some things. You know, the world will go on without me, you know, so I don't have to be at every meeting. I don't have to be at everything. And so it just made me really conscious of that. So, so yeah, that's my lesson that I'm still processing now, especially now that people are trying to go back to normal. And I'm like, no normal. We want a new normal.
Yeah, right. We don't want that again.
No, we don't want that again. We don't want it. So,
Yeah.
It has changed how, you know, this time has changed how we spend our time. It is kind of a cool awareness.
It is. I've pulled out puzzles and you just slowing down. I've been sitting on the front porch and being the nosy neighbor. Like, it's been amazing.
Same here.
Yeah.
Like, what's that truck? What truck went by?
Who's getting a delivery? Like, yeah.
Oh, I love it. And it goes together, right? This whole idea of changing for the better, that change is an evolution, and it does help us grow and it helps us do better. Like, you don't want to go back to what you were doing before. And this time to stop and reflect we're able to realize what are the changes that we can make. And I think like it was really profound, because I've never seen anything like this where everything shut down, right? And that we could survive that way. I was amazed. I was like, what's going to happen? How am I going to get my groceries? I don't know what's going to But here we are 3 months in and we're still living.
It almost made life more simple, you know, to a degree. Yeah. Which is kind of cool.
And also prioritizing what is important and what matters, right?
Yeah. Okay, so Lucia, same question to you. What's one thing that you've learned during 2020 that you want to share, and how did you learn this?
I think what I've learned the most is silence. And this is difficult for me because I was so used to, like, before March, I will say we have a before March, that everything was on a like running, go, just plan, go ahead, go. Then we have like I call it like this huge, like empty moment where it was like, what's going on? Like, you know, we were feeling like I don't know if it was the same thing for you, probably, like I'm falling apart and I don't know where I'm going to be landing. This, like, I don't know what's going to happen. And then suddenly you landed and you don't know if there is more, like another level going down. So it's like, what's next? And I think in my case, I was terrified in the beginning, like, how do you mean we're not going to be able to go outside? And one day, I live in downtown Toronto, so it's really noisy. Like, well, it was before. I couldn't have my window open before. And suddenly one day, when the weather was better, I opened the door, my window, the balcony, and I was able to hear the birds singing. And to me, that was the moment when I was thinking, okay, I have to rethink myself, because I cannot just go back to what it was before. I just can't. And that silence also was not only external, but also internal. And I think that was the more challenging, like, okay, to be with myself, within myself, and to hear all my demons, my monsters. But yeah, and after that, that's when I say, okay, I can rethink myself. And Jenn, you were talking about change, right? Like sometimes we're in a really comfort zone, we're happy there. And when a change comes, I mean, no one asks us if we are ready to go. They're like, go. So, and silence to me, that has been the most important one.
Mm-hmm. It's such a simple way that you phrase it, the term of silence, right? And I think there's so much power in that word when we think of silencing ourselves and being silent, and how we are able to reflect and learn and grow in that. And then I think even on a broader platform, the idea of silence, right? Like how silence can actually bring change for other folks. And I know with like Black Lives Matter and silencing the noise on social media so that the voices that need to be heard can be raised. And so I love that word silence. I'm going to have to write, I think I'm going to shift my 2020 word to silence instead of, I think it was growth. So.
I think too, when we offer silence, if we're silent or we offer silence, silence allows others to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when others are heard, we can make change. We can move forward. We can.
And we can listen. That's important, right? Like listen. And
Yeah.
also listen to the others, listen to ourselves, to our body. And I guess, Jenn, you as a yoga teacher, well, you know how important it is and how that practice to listen not only to ourselves, but also to others.
Absolutely.
I love it. I always learn so much when I get to listen to everyone's lessons, and I love hearing everyone's experiences and stories because it's always different. It's always, everyone's got a unique experience, and what's really interesting though is despite how we've learned it or how we've experienced these lessons, there's always something that I'm able to take from everyone's lesson. So I have to imagine that everyone's able to take something from these lessons. So thank you for being open and vulnerable and sharing those lessons and your stories with us and with me. So my last question is, we like to take lessons and try to apply them, right? Because that's the whole point of growth, is to take these lessons and then apply them. So now that, and Starla, you kind of talked to this already, but now that we're starting to see our cities start to reopen, our businesses start to reopen, which is a great thing, but also a little scary. How do you see your lessons learned? How do you see that applying into these next normal or future state, however you want to call it? Anyone want to jump in?
I'll jump in. So I see myself pushing back more. And I think this applies both to COVID, so like the working from home, saying no to certain meetings, saying no to certain obligations, because you just don't have to be everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's just my kind of like my main lesson. So I see myself pushing back on that. And I would say just in terms of like the Black Lives Matter movement and the type of work that I do in the community, I do see myself kind of pushing back more in that realm as well. In terms of voicing concern more often and making sure that I'm continuing to make sure that people like question and are thinking and reflecting about what's happening in their world and pushing them to change. Because I think my biggest fear is that people have had somewhat of an awakening of 2020, and if we rush to just go back, then we might miss the lesson and not really push for that change Jenn was talking about. Mm-hmm. So I want to continue to be able to push so that the change and not be complacent with an old normal, and really push for the new normal in terms of equity, in terms of low stakes meetings should all be on Zoom now, I think. Like, why do I have to come meet you, drive a half an hour in person? Maybe sometimes that's appropriate if it's about relationship building. I definitely want to go have tea with people. But, not everything needs to be face to face. We could do virtual, we could do phone call, we could, maybe an email and a quick text message will get the job done. And so how can we leverage those things to be more efficient so that we can then stand back and say, yes, I can still do a puzzle with my kids and make dinner, even after I have to do my full workload. So that's kind of where I am, and hoping that the kind of balance I hope to bring moving forward.
Nice. I love it. Well, and the way that you approach it, it's not just internally, like it's not personal, it's not only personally impactful, but also for the greater community as well, right? That whole idea of pushing back and being really intentional on where and how you're going to spend your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
important. That's like time is money. I mean, not to make it all about capitalism, because definitely I've learned that that's not the price. Maybe not either. However, that's a whole nother call. But time is money, right? Like you spend so much time doing things like groceries. I will never spend another 6 hours on a Saturday going from store to store to store buying groceries. It's just not going to happen anymore. It's just kind of like I can do 15 minutes on the phone, and when Amazon says something's not in stock or whatever, like, like you make a change and you keep it moving. So I appreciate that time, and I want to keep the time back for myself, not for others. I want to dictate what I can use it for.
Yeah, awesome. I love it. Yeah, I'm same here. I'm just like, how much time did I spend in the grocery store every single week? Oh my goodness, just in 2020 alone.
Yes.
I know I have to say, during all of this, it's like I really recognize and realize where I was spending my time, and where I spend my time now is such a better place. And so I totally agree. Honor and respect your time because it's valuable.
Yeah. Nice. Thanks for sharing that, Starla. Okay, so anyone else want to jump in?
Oh, I think I can go. Okay, so what I'm thinking, and what Starla, what you mentioned, I think resonates with me, and I want to go slowly. Like I don't want to rush, like. And I'm thinking about this metaphor. Let me know what you think. It's like we're waiting for a nice dinner, like a barbecue, nice dinner, and we have a nice glass of wine, and it's cold, and it's the weather is perfect, and we're sitting there, and you just see everything. And one option is to start eating up like there is no tomorrow, like blah, 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 blah. Or to little by little, like, okay, I'll start with the wine, and then I will take something to snack, and little by little. So I want to do that. I don't want to be running the way that I was doing it before. Mm-hmm. And I also want to have more time for myself. And I'm so happy because I'm learning to say no, feeling more confident and less guilty because that's another thing, right? Feeling guilty after saying no. But yeah, I want to go slowly, like little by little, like dancing, but yeah, slowly, I will say.
That's such a beautiful metaphor. I never thought about it.
I always thinking about food, so my metaphors are food related.
And one day I'll have to come up to Toronto and have a nice dinner with you because that sounds amazing.
Yeah. We have the best barbecue.
I love that. Yeah, just being fully present in your life and where you are and what you're doing. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And we can do that. We can do that.
Yeah. And so now it's your turn. How do you see your lessons learned applying in the future?
Oh, that change is good. Change is good. So embrace change and, create, how I've been working with that right now is, creating new programs for, to support and encourage those that need it at this time. And, it's just paying it forward and teaching others how to embrace change. Yeah.
Because it is tough, right?
It is. Yeah, it does not come naturally. I don't know that it comes naturally to anyone. I think you absolutely have to practice, embracing change.
Totally agree. I think it's one of there's some kind of saying about how we are, we're always more, we always lean on the side of status quo, right? Like, let's not change anything. Let's just keep things going the way it's going because at least we know what's happening.
So if it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, and it's scary that change to think about the shift. And I think it's been fascinating to see when we're forced to change that we all everyone had to do something differently. whether or not it was ordering our groceries through an app now, or, like sitting on the front porch. I've had chairs on my front porch for 5 years, and they were covered in dust and cobwebs, and I cleaned them off, and we sit there and we, spy on all the cars driving by. But that change, right? That change also changes our community. Like, I feel safer. I feel like I know my neighbors more. I feel like our community is more connected. And all of that is because of that forced change. So I love everything that all three of you ladies have shared. It's just so amazing to hear your perspectives and your stories, and like how you all are growing. And just the words, like the whole idea of embracing change, and change is a good thing. I don't think we hear that enough, right? That change and evolution leads to better things. Because a lot of times I think we always think change is hard and it's scary and I don't want to do it. Versus if you do it, you're going to get to better things. And that's a given. I love that you kind of stated it as a fact. And Starla, like that whole pushing back and being intentional, like, yes, that is awesome, right? Because if you are going to change for the better, and that's part of it, right? And Lucia, like, your words are amazing. Your words and metaphor are just like silence and slow down. Like, it's so simple. And that is what I'm going to take with me. We're going to be silent. We're going to practice the power of silence. Yeah. And
a good meal.
And a good meal, yes. Well, so you all have already shared so many wonderful, amazing words with me, but we like to wrap up with words of wisdom. If there's anything that you hold, it's a mantra, or if it's words of wisdom for you, or if there's a favorite quote that you want to share, I want to just highlight, where you guys are, where your perspective comes from, so that way we can share that with our broader audience. So let's start with Lucia.
Okay. So I have one that I use all the time, and I remind myself all the time. And I use it not only for the challenging moments, I also use it, and I keep in mind when I feel really happy and when I feel there is joy around me, or those days that is like nothing really interesting. And it shall pass. Just to keep that in our minds, because no matter how we feel, if it's really like we feel like it's the end of our world, or if we are the top of the mountain, it's beautiful when we keep in mind that it shall pass. So that's the mantra that I keep with myself.
Oh, I love it. That gave me goosebumps. So same thing, so simple.
And a good meal.
Okay, Starla, do you have anything you want to share?
I do. I've been so I do. One of the things I've been doing a lot more of during this time is self-care. So one of the quotes that I've try to revisit a couple of times a week has been resonating with me has been that caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It's really self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. And it's a quote from Audre Lorde. She was a Black feminist leader and writer. And so that's really kind of resonated with me in terms of not only practicing more self-care because of COVID, but then also all of the social unrest and really saying, okay, if I take care of myself, and then to me that extends to my Fab Five, right? I take care of myself and them, that's an act of political warfare in and of itself. And you don't always have to be, because there was a day I would have been like down with my signs and I would have been really diehard at all the protests. And right now I'm like, no, that's not where I am in life right now. And that's not my first priority, is to take care of me and to make sure I can take care of my family. And so that quote just kind of stirred my soul during this time. So.
Oh, you just stirred my soul with that when she extends it to, that's a form of political warfare, right? Like your power and our power to exist and to to be successful, right, by taking care of ourselves and just living. That's an act of political warfare. Oh, love it. Oh my gosh, I got goosebumps all over. Okay, Jen, any last words of wisdom or quotes you want to share?
Well, my words of wisdom are to live from the heart and lead with love.
Lead with love. Oh,
yeah.
I love it. You all are so amazing. Again, I can't say enough words to convey how grateful I am for you, all three of you, to be here and to share your thoughts, your stories, and your lessons with me and with everyone that's watching, because everything you shared, that each one of you shared, is so powerful in the way that you shared it, and the experiences that you've had, I know, shift my perspective, and hearing everyone's stories has shifted a lot of my perspectives in just the past 30 minutes that we've been together. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your voices and being open and vulnerable again, and just being authentic, just being you. It's amazing, right? The power that we have by just being us and by just embracing the change that's happening within us and sharing that outwardly. I think it's so powerful. So thank you again for your time. I am so honored that you were willing to come on with me again. And so we'll wrap up, and for everyone that's out there and for everyone watching out there, thank you for joining us and hearing these beautiful women's voices, hearing the lessons that they have learned, and hopefully you're taking these internally and then starting to think about how you can apply these same lessons to your life, or if you've had similar experiences and have had similar learnings as well. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, lovely ladies, for joining us. And we will see you next week. See ya.